What's up, my dude? So, No Man's Sky next. Now, with No Man's Sky, you always got to be really careful about your expectations and the hype that you get going for it because I think we all learned our lesson on that one. With a game that has this much potential, it's so easy to sort of like float with your imagination with it. It's so easy to just sort of think, well, there must can be anything in this game, and that's really just impossible for any game out there, you know what I mean? But the E3 trailers definitely played this game off to be more than what it was in a variation sense, without a doubt. There is no doubt in my mind on that. I mean, it made it seem like there was so much more variation than there actually was. I mean, there's creatures that you saw in those E3 trailers that you would never ever see in the current day No Man's Sky. You remember those crazy big looking trimmer snake type creatures crawling through the sand in the early trailers? There's none of that in this game. Not only is there none of that, but there's not even desert dune planets at all. I mean, you've got somewhat of what you could call like desert planets, but they're not really dune planets whatsoever, man. I definitely would not consider them that at all. The trees can't really be tall. You don't have the rhinoceros-looking creature running through the forest, tearing down trees. That's not in the game at all. There's just a certain. It's hard to even explain it. It really is if you don't know like what those early trailers really looked like or kind of perceived or put off. It was acting as if each one of these worlds was just going to be a totally crazy new experience. But when you actually get in the game, you realize there is this core-like set of biomes in the game and this core set of the way the planets are made. And it's partly because of that procedural generation side of it. It's just, it becomes so repetitive because let me just explain it like this. It's like their slider on the procedural generation aspect is not nowhere near wide enough. It's like it's not, the variation of everything in the game is not wide enough. Everything's too similar. Now, when you compare it to most other games, yes, there is variation. I mean, goodness gracious, man, there's so many planets in this game that you can't even go to all of them. So in that sense, yes, it's crazy, but it really is, it does give you the feeling of you're in an ocean that's only a foot deep. Like, it doesn't really matter all that much how big it is when it's not that deep, when the game's not that deep. I've never seen something that looked like a actual shark model or an actual something that really looked like a literal fish model, little small, like, whatever kind of real life fish. I've never seen anything that looked actually like that in this game. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, the creature variation. Like, you'll see stuff that looks like maybe a puffer fish, in like a million different variations of a puffer fish, but you won't see something that looks like a million different variations of a goldfish. Or it's just hard to explain it. It's like they've got just certain models in the game, and then you'll see like different heads on that model and different fins on that model, but there's not enough of differences of that original model, is what I'm saying. And you see a ton of those little groundhog style creatures, a million different variations of those. You see a million different variations of like that little kind of gazelle style creature, and little like dog structured creature. You see just tons of different variations of that, but it needs more than that. You see a ton of those things that look like a kind of like a long caterpillar, that sometimes they're flying, sometimes they're swimming, but you see so many of those that almost look identical. So if they can just fix that like core creature structural variation and the actual movements and sizes of them, dude, this game's got so much potential for that. And that's what I talk about when I talk about No Man's Sky. That's why I get so passionate about it, is because I see so much potential in the game, and it's just not where it needs to be. It's just not to that E3 trailer level looking planets. And it frustrates me so much because the game is like, it's like it's so close to it in a certain sense, but yet it's so far in a certain sense too. Very, very difficult to actually convey that to somebody, but yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I don't really even know how to explain it. But with this whole next update, I don't know. I mean, it really does sound like they're almost trying to totally reinvent the game, totally revamp the game, more so than just adding, these little updates like they have been doing. It really seems like they are trying to, this is the next big step in the game. Now, I don't know if they just meant that in a sense of they're finally releasing it on Xbox, or like we're finally getting multiplayer, or if they mean, oh, hey, we're totally revamping the way the planets are made, we're revamping the variation, we're revamping, basically starting from scratch in a certain sense and making the creature models totally different, everything totally different in the game. If that's the case, hell to the yes, dude. That's what they need to be doing as far as like a next for No Man's Sky. You need to be revamping, like, it's almost like they could keep the whole of the way the game is currently, right? Like the actual mechanical functions of the game, like how you fly into the planets and fly away and all that little stuff actually works very well in the game. But it's just what's on the planet and how it's placed on the planet is where your problems start to occur. That's where your variation problems start to become very, very prevalent in that sense. So, yeah, I mean, if they can really start to fix that, Sean Murray kind of calls it the terrain, basically, and obviously he's talking about the terrain, but he means like how it's all actually formed and how the procedural generation makes, like, for instance, makes a mountain over here, but then makes a valley over here and I can't say rivers because they don't have those in the game. It's something they really need to add. But then it can make like lakes over here, really making it more variation to where you're not just going to hop down on one planet and have a mountain, or have a planet that's just all of the same mountain over the whole planet. And then, it's not, doesn't have like enough variation within the actual terrain, even though this is a crazy thought right here. But I would love to see, do you guys remember at the very beginning when they announced this game, when Sean Murray was showing one of the planets where he was kind of showing off how the procedural generation made the mountains and stuff? Some of you old school dudes will really remember this, but he showed where like he basically would type in like a code into the system, and it would make like just a bunch of these repeated mountains over and over and over on a planet, and they all looked identical. And basically he was just showing off how the system made the different mountains and valleys and stuff, but it gave that planet a very interesting look to it. I almost feel like certain planets in the game could have that very, basically what I'm saying is like you could have one planet that is like perfectly flat. I'm talking there ain't a lick of actual raised or lowered terrain on it at all. It's just perfectly smooth. Or you could have a planet that is just like absolute jagged mountains, like straight up spiked terrain everywhere. It's almost like Sean Murray has tried so hard to make a like quote-unquote real Earth-like looking planet with different, hills and valleys and pond over here and big mountain over there, that it almost makes it to where every planet kind of feels like it has that to it. Where it's like mountain over here and then kind of valley down there and then pond over here. I mean, it looks good and it looks like there's some variation within the actual planet itself, but what seems to start to happen is all the planets start to feel like that. So if they can expand that sort of variation, that would be sick. Like have a planet where it's like literally like all water, like I've said before, or it's just one gigantic divot on the planet that covers up almost the entire planet. It's just like one humongous bowl in the planet. I feel like that is more realistic than trying to make every planet like this, I don't know, more like an Earth-style planet to a certain extent. They need to make it more alien, make it more crazy, make it more... And I mean, like, you can see this terrain right here that's a little bit wild, where it, like, snakes around like that. There needs to be more stuff like that with the terrain, is what I'm saying. Like, I want to see more just crazy spikes, crazy, like, where I could look down and see a tunnel that just went for miles and miles and miles, and if I fall down in it, I die. Like, you know, just random stuff like that. They need more variation in that terrain for sure. But with this whole next update thing, it may be what I want it to be, in the sense of they may be really trying to put in that whole like revamped variation in the creatures and the plants, and you might finally be able to run across a gigantic underwater creature. All that kind of stuff could definitely be what's in this next update. I don't want to get too hyped up on it, because that may not be. Like I'm saying, it may just be next in the sense of like they finally add multiplayer, or they're finally putting it on Xbox. That may be what they're kind of meaning with that, but I don't know. I just kind of get a little bit of that feeling like it's more than that. Like they're really going to make the planets more like those E3 trailers like we were seeing back in the day. I just have that feeling, dude. I don't know. I feel like they're finally realizing they need to do that. And if they do that, they are going to have to, I guarantee you, they will totally wipe the servers on No Man's Sky. You guys know how the past 3 updates, they haven't really wiped the servers, even though every single planet is basically changed. Like with each update, the variation will change a little bit, and then every planet will change. So basically, if you keep your old saves and you go back to one of the older planets that you were on like a long time ago, then it basically just like wipes it from your planet list if you go back to it like you've never even been there before. That's basically how Sean Murray tried to combat that problem. But I feel like it would be better if you're trying to make just a full next update, just wipe those servers clean, dude. Act like it's day one again for No Man's Sky. Act like, and if they really change the planets to the degree that I'm talking about that they need to, they really change them to the variation of those E3 planets, we won't even really remember about this No Man's Sky. I mean, this would be like a literally like it was an alpha beta test for the actual No Man's Sky that we're getting in this next update. You understand what I'm saying? So like if the worlds are changed to that extent, there's really no way that you can keep your old saves at that point. I feel like Sean Murray, with the system of like running across, oh, I've been to this planet, I've left this message on this planet, I've seen this certain planet. Well, if they add all that variation, they're going to have to wipe the servers, or it's just going to be scrambled. It's not going to make any sense. So we'll see what happens for sure. I think it's one of those things where a lot of people out there, for whatever reason, seem to get totally giddy about the multiplayer in this game. And it kind of pisses me off when they do that, because they act like multiplayer is just the end-all, be-all for this game. It's going to make the game like it was supposed to be. It's going to make the game the best game ever and stuff like that, when the game was never really even meant to be about that. So I know a lot of people are kind of speculating that this next update is going to be like all based around the multiplayer, right? Like they're finally going to add the multiplayer that was supposed to be in the game or whatever. And I just have to tell you, people that think like that, you just don't even really understand No Man's Sky if you're getting super, super excited about that, or you think it's really going to fix the game. Because I can tell you right now, putting in multiplayer in No Man's Sky is not going to fix the game. Like, it's just not going to do that, straight up. There's no other way to really say that. It's not going to fix it. Just how the base building didn't fix the game, and the vehicles didn't fix the game. See, all of those things right there, those were supposed to be little added bonuses, like maybe woulda, coulda, mighta, add those later on down the line as just extra things to put into the game. They were never meant to be core features of the game. Believe it or not, multiplayer was never really meant to be a super core feature. Now, I'm not here to debate all the No Man's Lie, Sean Murray, whatever. I mean, I don't think they should have went about it the way that they did, telling you, like, basically you were going to be able to come across people, and then you get the game in your hands and you can't come across people. No matter how you look at that, that's wrong to do that, period. It's just wrong to do that to people. I don't care if he said some things are not going to be available at launch. I don't care. If it's not going to be available at launch, then don't say it. Don't say it like it is in the game. You understand what I'm saying? Just don't do it. You know what I mean? So, but for me, it's like when you start going into that conversation of the multiplayer side of it, it's not the problem of the game. Now, I would love to see multiplayer in this game, as far as like you can just randomly come across people and play with them, like Sean Murray had said from the very beginning. But even Sean Murray from the beginning said this is not an MMORPG. That's not what this game is about. It's not about this like super big multiplayer experience. He always played it off to be more of a, like, you can come across one or two other people that will zone in with you, basically, but you're never going to be able to just, come across like 100 people in one spot and then have that be like the multiplayer experience. It's never going to be like that. I honestly believe No Man's Sky will never, ever be to that extent when you talk about the multiplayer of it. Personally, I just don't think it'll ever be like that. And I feel like some people that talk about the multiplayer kind of think it's going to be like that. But, like for me, the multiplayer, it's like, yeah, they can add it, but I want them to start focusing on the core problems of the game, like biome variation, creature variation, planet variation. It's way more about the lacking variation, the lacking biomes, the lacking sizes of everything, creature sizes, tree sizes, rock sizes. There's no only water planets like they talked about. There's no rings around the planets. There's a lot of things about the variation of it all that I feel like is really what is killing or has killed this game to a certain extent. More so, everyone seems to get off on these other little topics like the game was about that from the beginning anyways, when it wasn't. The game is all about just going to more planets and exploring. That's what the game is about. It's not about a quest log. It's not about vehicles. It's not about base building. It's not even really about multiplayer. When you really get down to the core of it, it's just not even about that. And so the people that act like the game has just improved so much from launch, like it's finally the game it was supposed to be, I'm sorry, but you people are idiots. You just don't even understand the game if you're saying that. I'm not saying it hasn't improved at all, because obviously they've added things that really were supposed to be in there from the beginning, like for instance portals and weapon classes and ship classes and all that kind of stuff. That is all core things that were supposed to be there, and they weren't there at the beginning, and now we have them through updates. But the main problem with the game right now is everything's too repetitive. And that's really the core of the problem. And I've been saying it from the very beginning. When this game very first launched, that's the problem. So hopefully this whole next thing is not just well, here's multiplayer and enjoy that, right? Hopefully they're not trying to totally just sort of please this like mass audience that doesn't really understand the game, but they just want to see actual multiplayer in No Man's Sky. Seems like that's kind of what it's turned into at this point, when it should be more about what the game was originally supposed to be from the beginning anyways. And I'm saying, yes, Sean Murray said there's going to be multiplayer, you're going to be able to come across people, but I feel like a lot of people are expecting it to be way more than that. Like, but yes, they do need to put an actual multiplayer into the game. I'm just saying, I don't think that's the most important thing on the agenda right now. I honestly don't. I think their most important thing, and the thing about that is they've already done that for so long. Like, they've done all this, well, let's put base building, let's put vehicles, let's put quest logs, and now it's kind of a let's put multiplayer in there, right? But they're gonna eventually have to fix their core variation problems with the game, or it will never live. It will never succeed. There's no way. Because that's the whole core premise of the game. You're supposed to be Christopher Columbus of outer space, being the first person going to all these planets, and if they're not varied enough and they're not different enough and unique enough, there's no point to that. And that's the whole point to the game. That's the whole premise of the game, is going to new planets, discovering things, naming them, so other people can come through and see that you were the first person to ever see that. But the problem with that is landscapes. They're too repetitive. Everything about the game. I don't even have to narrow it down to one thing because everything about the planets are too repetitive. Why is that? Why is there not like a potential for a super big, crazy alien creature flying through space? Or why is there not the potential of, I don't know, just some kind of random... I don't know. I feel like a lot of that mystique and mystery of the game at the beginning is kind of lost with a lot of the sort of friendly, user-friendly, beginner-friendly features that they've put in there. They've went down that damn standard gaming company routes that I hate to death, where they start going down that rabbit hole of holding your hand the whole way through the experience, and then it completely eliminates all the mystery of the game. And I really thought Sean Murray had this aspect down packed before he ever even started really working on this game. I suspected that that's the way it was, because that's how he talked about the game at the beginning. He was like, we really don't want to hold your hand in this game. We really want you to have to find things and figure out things and have mysterious things happen, you know, and have all this cool stuff going on. But meanwhile, now with updates, these updates that everyone says has totally fixed the game, and these news outlets out here say, oh, No Man's Sky is so much better, oh my gosh. I'm not saying it's not better. I'm just saying there's some crap they've added that I would say you should have never added to No Man's Sky. Like, why can I summon my ship at any point in time? Why are you holding my hand like that? I have the HUD turned off right now because I hate that hand-holding stuff. They've got it to where, like, it's not even mysterious coming across a black hole or a portal or anything like that. That's not even like a mysterious thing. Like, ooh, what is this? What is it going to do? It's this whole like quest log system now of follow this path, go talk to this guy, go talk to that guy. They're falling into this standard gaming trap, and I hate to see it happen to such a ambitious and unique and different game. They're falling into all those same patterns and paths that these big game companies go through. A lot of times games will come out and they'll be really cool, unique, difficult. They don't hold your hand. You really have to like put in user effort to figure things out about the game, and you got to really learn the core aspects of the game, because it's got that just mystique and mysteriousness, and you can get better at it and all these different things. And then over time, these game companies just little by little, they add little comfortability, user-friendly features in there, like spawning your ship down. So now, regardless of where you are, just poop your ship out and you can fly anywhere. Well, it totally eliminates that realism of like, okay, if I hop out right here, I could get stuck on this planet and not be able to get back to my ship. Totally eliminates that aspect from the game, which was supposed to be a super big core to the game from the beginning. That aspect is totally gone. The whole quest system, there was never meant to be that whatsoever, but all those people that didn't understand what No Man's Sky was about, oh, there's nothing to do on these planets, oh, where's the quest log, oh, I just want No Man's Sky to be like every single other MMORPG that I've ever played in my entire life. I just want No Man's Sky to be exactly like Skyrim. I just want No Man's Sky to be like this. When in reality, it was never meant to be like any of that. It was meant to be its whole entire own thing. And this is where I get a little bit upset with how Sean Murray and Hello Games has went about the updating process of this game. Yes, the updates have been free, so how can I really complain, right? Like, I get that side of it, but at the same time, they're putting in features that Sean Murray never even wanted the game to be about. So, either way, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.